In 2013, Elon Musk, the world's richest man, announced a concept that would offer a solution to the problems of U.S. transportation. While Asian and European countries now operate the fastest trains in the world, America is significantly behind in this regard, as it only operates high-speed railways between Boston and Washington, and this is also due to the huge distances in the country. However, the biggest limitation in the construction of high-speed trains is air resistance, so a solution to this would be for the trains to travel in a vacuum tunnel, where, in the absence of air resistance, they would be able to operate trains at speeds of up to 1,100 km per hour, thus surpassing the speed of airplanes. But where would this network operate, and where has it even started to be built? In this video, we look at 10 possible routes for Hyperloop, which could be completed in the coming decades. Number 10. London to Edinburgh. The UK is currently building a massive rail project, High Speed 2, which is expected to connect London to Leeds and Manchester by 2033. However, there is another way to connect cities more efficiently, namely by building a high-speed rail line between London and Edinburgh. It currently takes 4 hours and 57 minutes by train, 1 hour and 25 minutes by plane, and the Hyperloop would cut the journey down to 29 minutes. All it would take is a 600-kilometer-long vacuum tunnel, and of course a contractor or someone who can pay for it. In this video, we calculate the average cost of the Hyperloop, which is about $120 million per kilometer. This would mean that the London to Edinburgh distance would cost $72 billion, not much more than the $70 billion cost of High Speed 2. Students at the University of Edinburgh launched their first testbed in 2022 to experiment with such technologies, so it's possible that this idea might not seem so far-fetched after all. Number 9. Texas. Texas is the second largest state in the United States in terms of economy, and its cities are developing year by year. This has come to the point that in the past few years, the possibility of building a high-speed rail line between Houston and Dallas has been raised. However, it is worth thinking about and looking at other options, especially since Elon Musk, who campaigned for Trump during last year's U.S. presidential election campaign, moved to the more conservative Texas, so his project could find new life in the state. The Hyperloop would be 390 kilometers long, and the route that currently takes 3 hours and 56 minutes by car and 90 minutes by train would be shortened to just 30 minutes. However, if we think further, this route could even be expanded in the form of a triangle, thus reaching major cities such as Fort Worth, Austin or San Antonio, thus creating a 1,200-kilometer network, within which any distance can be completed in a maximum of 30 minutes. One of the best-known Hyperloop companies, Hyperloop One, was also interested in the route, which they began planning with the help of AECOM. Number 8. Tokyo, Kobe. Japan is the home of high-speed rail technology, having opened the first high-speed rail line, known to us today as the Shinkansen, in 1964. Although the country is building a new type of magnetic levitation-based Shinkansen between Tokyo and Osaka by 2037, with a speed of 500 km per hour, and the first test train has already reached a speed of 603 km per hour. The current Tokyo-Osaka distance is covered by the Shinkansen in 2 hours and 30 minutes. This new type of Chuo Shinkansen is planned to shorten the journey to 67 minutes. But so far we have only talked about the section between Tokyo and Osaka, and it would be worth talking about a closer major city, Kobe, as well, because a possible Hyperloop between Tokyo and Kobe would shorten the current 3 hours and 40 minutes journey to just 35 minutes. The distance between the two cities would be about 450 kilometers, so the Hyperloop would cost about $54 billion. This would connect the capital to the country's industrial triangle, allowing for faster travel. Number 7. Melbourne, Brisbane. Here is another country where flying is the most efficient way to travel domestically, and that is Australia, where there are huge distances between the largest cities. The largest cities are in the southeast of the country, and major cities such as Melbourne, Canberra, Sydney, Newcastle, Gold Coast and Brisbane could be connected quickly. This would be a 1,500-kilometer route, of which the Sydney-Melbourne flight currently takes 1 hour 35 minutes, which is one of the busiest routes in the world with 54,000 flights per year, while the Sydney-Brisbane flight takes 1 hour 30 minutes and there are 33,000 flights per year. 80% of the country lives in this area, so this concept would serve around 14 million people, and only a 1,500-kilometer network would need to be built, which, if we calculate proportionally, would cost $180 billion. For comparison, the country's largest megaproject, which we talked about in a previous video, the Melbourne Metro, would cost $133 billion, and it would only operate within Melbourne. Number 6. Budapest, Bratislava. With the bankruptcy of Hyperloop 1 in 2023, this project also probably failed, but around 2016, an opportunity arose to connect the three most important cities in Central Europe, Budapest, Bratislava, and Vienna, with a Hyperloop. This is obviously not as important a route as the ones mentioned so far, and not many people commute here. The easiest way to travel between the three big cities is by train at the moment. It takes about 2 hours and 30 minutes to travel the distance from Budapest to Vienna by car, while the same takes 2 hours and 40 minutes by train. A Hyperloop would shorten this distance to 20 minutes, but it would be relatively unnecessary, because the construction of the approximately 220-kilometer Hyperloop would cost $26 billion. Several high-speed railway lines are currently being planned in the region, one of which is the Budapest-Belgrade Railway, which is currently under construction. A similar railway between Budapest, Bratislava and Vienna would provide a cheaper and more realistic solution to the problem. Number 5. Hong Kong, Shanghai. Hong Kong is a major financial center and independent city-state on the shores of the South China Sea, while Shanghai is a similarly important city in China. The idea of China building a Hyperloop train between the two cities was first proposed in 2023, but it is important to note that China currently has a super-fast train, like Japan, with the only Maglev train currently in operation, which connects Shanghai's airport to the city center and has a maximum speed of 431 kilometers per hour. There is also a train called CRRC Maglev, which is planned to operate at a speed of 500 kilometers per hour. Now let's jump back to the concept between Shanghai and Hong Kong, which can currently be done by train in 8 hours and 3 minutes, while by plane it would take 2 hours and 51 minutes, while with the new type of Maglev it would take 3 hours. Such a Hyperloop could cover the distance in as little as 1 hour and 30 minutes. All of this would cost $156 billion, but China wants to build something along the route by 2035, so it's possible that it could happen in the future. Number 4. India. India is the most populous country in the world and currently does not have adequate transport infrastructure. That is why they have already started construction between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, which is planned to be completed within a few years. But the question has arisen as to what would happen if India's three largest cities were connected, thus making the most important industrial centers quickly accessible. One such concept would be a Hyperloop between the large port city of Mumbai, the other large port city of Chennai, and the largest city of Delhi. Any route in the triangle could be completed in a maximum of 1.5 to 2 hours, but at a huge price. The construction of such a project could cost up to $480 billion. Perhaps this project is the closest to reality of the above, as the first Hyperloop test track has already begun between Mumbai and Pune. It would shorten the distance to just 25 minutes, according to the plans. The route is already being built, but due to the bankruptcy of Hyperloop 1, it is not certain that it will be completed. Number 3. Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. The Middle East is also building a large-scale railway project, the GCC Railway. It will connect the Gulf countries along the Arabian Gulf, the Emirates in the United Arab Emirates, and various major cities in Saudi Arabia. This project will cost about $200 billion and could be completed in the next decade. However, after Saudi Arabia is building a 170-kilometer-long city, a 1-kilometer-high building, and a 400-meter-high city, the question arises, what if we modernized transportation as well? All of the aforementioned projects are being implemented within the framework of the Saudi Vision 2030 initiative, which also included cooperation with Virgin Hyperloop, and this was also welcomed by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. This investment would be a 5,600-kilometer-long network that would shorten distances. One part would run along the Gulf, connecting Oman, the UAE, Bahrain, Dammam, and Kuwait. The other part would run in Saudi Arabia between Riyadh and the largest city, Jeddah, and of course also touch upon the pilgrimage center, Mecca. And 2 more lines could be built for the famous Neom project, where the linear city is also being built. One could start from Riyadh and end at Neom. The other part would run along the Red Sea, and Jeddah would be accessible from the Neom area. Number 2. Los Angeles, San Francisco. The two largest cities in California are Los Angeles and San Francisco, and the traffic between the two cities is huge. Millions of people commute here by air or by car every year. An interesting solution for this would be the Hyperloop, which is also close to this region, just like India and Saudi Arabia, because in 2020, the first two people were able to travel on the interesting means of transport on the Virgin Hyperloop test track in Nevada, not in California. California is also currently building a $100 billion investment in the region, the California High-Speed Railway, which is planned to connect San Diego with San Francisco and Sacramento. If we only examine the distance between Los Angeles and San Francisco, we can see that it currently takes 6 hours to travel by car, but the railway would shorten this to 2 hours 40 minutes, while by plane it is possible in 1 hour 30 minutes. Hyperloop would reduce this distance to 30 minutes, which would be record-breaking, and would certainly offer an effective futuristic alternative to Silicon Valley. Number 1. Europe to America. The idea of connecting continents has always been a question throughout history. One of these is connecting America and Europe by bridging the Atlantic Ocean, which for a long time could only be crossed by ship, and nowadays by plane. We will talk about why the Atlantic Ocean is so unbridgeable in another video and whether it would be possible to build a transatlantic tunnel. But with the idea of the Hyperloop, the bridge between America and Europe could gain a new meaning. One such possibility would be if we started from Paris, for example, and then went through European countries like Germany and Poland, and then arrived in Russia through Belarus, where we would go all the way through Siberia. And we would arrive at the Bering Strait, where, like the Channel Tunnel, we would only have to drill a smaller tunnel, and then cross Canada and finally arrive in New York. There would also be the option of building directly through Greenland, but this would not be an option in harsh weather conditions, and building under the Atlantic Ocean would be unfeasible with current technology. If we take the first concept into account, the entire project would cost an estimated $12 trillion, but we will talk about that in another video. Hyperloop is a theoretical concept, but if you are interested in already realized or much more realistic trains, then click on one of the videos that appear on the screen, where I cover such a topic, and subscribe for more similar content. Thank you for being here. See you in the next time.